Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of VCTV. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott, and we are here to talk about farming and agriculture. What is happening in these two industries, and how is technology intersecting and playing a role as we look towards the digitization of everything here in 2020? A lot to talk about, but before we get into that, a big thank you to you, our audience, for tuning in. If you're liking what you hear today, make sure you click that big red subscribe button to tune in all day, every day to all episodes of VCTV as we bring together the best and the brightest from around the world to share with you their thoughts and insights and on the ground perspective of different technologies, industries, and regions around the world. What you need to know in making your investment and or building decisions as investors and entrepreneurs. If you'd like to be on a show like today or others joining our guests speaking about these subjects, do reach out to the team and or myself, and we'd love to find the right spot for you. And entrepreneurs, there's also an opportunity for you here as well on VCTV, and that is on our virtual stage, where you get the chance to get up on our virtual stage and pitch us as investors and founders focused on your industry to get real-time feedback, also build foundational relationships with each and every one of us, and exposure to our entire community. What better way to end the year and start off the next than doing just that? Again, reach out to the team and or myself, and we'd love to find the right spot for you. Last but not least, a big thank you to that outstanding team at LA Token and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. And I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. Let's go ahead and get started introducing our guest, Grandmaster of Artificial Intelligence, the one and only Gary Fowler. Welcome back to the show. A little intro and a little background.
It's great to be here, Kyle. Thank you. I appreciate it. So my name is Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 16 companies, two unicorns, and I just found out early last week that we are on the quadrant beating SAP and a Workday. So we've actually hit that magic right quadrant at the top. So I'm really happy about that. Eva, I started a little over 4 years ago, and it's closing on the billion dollar status today. Anyhow, I love artificial intelligence. AI is a new electricity, and we all are inundated with data. Doesn't matter if you're from MIT or Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. We got data flying at us all the time. And our job is to make sense of that data and to be able to do something incredible with it, to be able to make our lives more efficient and effective. So that's really what we're focused on. I'm building a $100 million fund in Atlanta, Georgia. The idea is to support the Black community. And we're looking for entrepreneurs from around the world that have incredible AI companies to go global.
Absolutely wonderful to have you back, Gary. And also great Groundhog Day reference there as well. Wendy, welcome back as well. A little intro and a little background for everybody.
I'm Wendy. I'm an impact investor. I am a serial impact entrepreneur. From day one, have been working on projects to help the world, whether it's homeless people, and two major books that raised $500,000 for the homeless and was on Oprah. Then I created Animal Fair Media, which is the first media company bringing celebrities and pop culture to the animal rescue world. When we learned that 12 million animals are euthanized a year, that's down to 2 million. Also founded an organization called Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization, We Do, which is now in 144 countries, recognized by US Congress, Governor Cuomo, Gavin Newsom, et cetera, around the world. And it's a movement to empower women in business to alleviate poverty. And then I'm invested in about 20 companies that are in the impact space. And I'm very focused on, and I love this topic because I love agriculture, food, and very interested in anything that's in that space that is, organic and vegetarian and vegan, and that will bring traceability and transparency to the supply chain.
Wonderful. And thank you so much. For those who have not met Wendy before and or checked out her organization, I highly recommend it. Again, Women's Entrepreneurship Day organization. Highly recommend it. It's an outstanding organization as well. Tom, welcome to the show first time. It's a pleasure to have you here with Maria and I on VCTV. If you can, a little intro and a little background.
All right, perfect. It's a pleasure to be here as well. Let's see, I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army. I'm also a serial entrepreneur. Started a PR firm about 10, 15 years ago. That did pretty well. Then got into bringing companies public, of course, got into blockchain space. Now currently dealing with PPE products, and then also in the midst of launching essentially we're probably about 6 months, 7 months into the programming. Essentially, I would say the Uber of agriculture, or the Amazon of agriculture. So linking farmers directly to consumers, because we have all these lockdowns in regards to farmers markets, certain capacities in regards to grocery stores. And I know farmers only get 10% of the product sell value on the shelf. And, we're trying to essentially sustain their money so they don't have to subsidize everything. There's more money in the farmers' pockets. Consumers during these dark times get, directly linked. While the farmers markets are shut down, you get directly linked to the farmers themselves. So more money in the farmers' pockets, more money, and also the consumer can buy fresh produce, things like that. And it's not the typical, let's say, ship it out every week in a box, right? It's you can buy freight, all sorts of things. So let's say if you are a restaurant and you want to, because you have different, let's say okra, for instance, and let's say you're in Virginia and you need to purchase okra. You can get a large freight order. So it gives farmers also free advertisement directly to the consumer. So, that's essentially a little background on myself.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Tom. And I want to kick it off with the current state. I mean, right now, so much has changed over 2020 around agriculture, farming, and the entire value chain for our food system as well, right? Tom's project, or excuse me, company that he's working on right now is working on that. Gary, Wendy, we've spoken a little bit about that on various episodes of VCTV as well. But let's hear kind of each of your on the ground views of what you're currently seeing around ag tech or agriculture and the shift that's happening here in 2020 as we come to close and looking ahead to the next year. So Wendy, let's go ahead and start with you. What's your current state or current view on ag tech as a whole?
Sorry about that.
We've got a celebrity guest.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, so sorry. It's like my dog. Anyways, so what I see happening, I think there's no better time in history it's a $4 trillion market. I think what you're seeing right now with companies coming out, like Nestle just announced that they're going to be net zero by 2050. They're investing $2 billion into this space. Unilever basically has a sales target. They just bought a vegetarian butcher, and they're doing a whole vegan line and plant-based meats and all these dairy alternatives. So you see they're very much investing in this space. When you think of like the future of food, right? We're seeing what's happening where you have Beyond Meat and all these unbelievable companies launching. It's a really great time right now for the vegan world, for the vegetarian world, but also when you look at what opportunities in the blockchain space, right? And you look at supply chain and you look at this, you've got Walmart announcing they want to be fully sustainable. So this is a great opportunity for companies in any type of space, in this disruptive technology space, that are going to bring awareness towards traceability, transparency. And I think one thing is missing in a lot of these companies, which, one of the companies I'm invested in, Producing Market, is very involved with, is storytelling and showing the actual farmer stories and being able to track from like the seed up, right? And being able to see that. So I think, looking at the whole industry in general, I think you see everybody coming together to realize the importance that people want to know what they're eating. They want to be able to see it on their phone. They want to go to a restaurant and scan that barcode and be able to see where that fish comes from or that broccoli comes from. So I think there's no better time than now to be investing in agriculture, investing in this whole space, because we're going to be seeing a whole change in the supermarket and all those aisles.
I think you're absolutely spot on. I mean, understanding that value chain process and where it came from, and it's going to change consumer behavior probably more than we realize today for the next decade ahead. And Gary, I'd love to come to you as well. What are you seeing as the current state of this industry around agriculture, ag tech, and that value chain of food?
Yeah, I mean, the situation, so a number of different things are really interesting. So the sensors, the capability with 5G of being able to put sensors throughout, the farm to look for things like soil health. Of course, our friend Irina always talks about regenerative agriculture. I mean, and that is really interesting from my perspective. Then the other thing is how to use, indoor vertical farming. I mean, if people don't realize how much more effective it is, you can take a 20-foot um, vegetable like a tomato and get 350x more productivity. You have more
Oh, yes,
protein.
exactly.
So, right. And
Exactly.
so, and people don't realize it. So these are kind of things. Look at the population of the planet. It's done 4x since the beginning of this century, over the last 100 years, last century. And it's going up. It'll be estimated at 2100 at 13 billion. I mean, we got a lot of mouths to feed, and we've got a lot less land that's going to be able to be farmed. So we got to figure out innovative ways. And then you've got this whole idea with global warming and the challenges that has. So you're going to have places like Canada and Russia become breadbaskets. So a lot of changes taking place, and that needs to be taken into consideration. Small farm productivities estimated to go up like 9.3%. That's a good news. And, then we look at, what kind of technologies are really interesting are coming around. Things like, printed meat, right? Vegetable-based meat, and like companies like Redefine out of Israel. So there's a lot of drones, right? Using drones for farming, being able to figure out what's going on at any particular time in a farm. Now the prices have come down quite a bit. I just recently have seen self-driving tractors that they have using new technology, not just LiDAR. So in amazing tractors that they're now testing on fields. They started off with farms, moving it to cars. But imagine, not having to go out in your field at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning anymore, and being able to just get your field tilled, and how much more efficient that would be. So, I mean, it's literally across the board. I mean, now the situation, if you, good, bad, or indifferent, if you wanted to clone your dog or a cow, you can do it for 50 grand. So things are changing, So, um, you know, I was joking around with my wife. I said, I love my dog. I want to get one like her. I said, I am going to get one just like her. you know. So there's a lot of the key is we need to prepare for the future. We need to prepare for global warming. We need to understand the data. I mean, we didn't before have sensors throughout a field to pick up data all the time. I mean, this is a whole Internet of Things on steroids, but it's important now. If you do, and farming's gone from more, blue collar to, let's go to Penn State University and get our master's in agriculture to be able to figure out how to make it more productive. So it's a great time.
And just a quick question. I mean, some of the technologies that you're mentioning are opportunities, right? So when we look at self-driving tractors, we look at the idea of cloning, these types of things. I mean, how does that change in your mind the future of farming? As a country boy from Pennsylvania, as you like to tease out there, I mean, how do you see this industry being transformed? And efficiency is one thing, but I mean, could we see just a whole nother side of the industry we've never thought about?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's going to change a lot because, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going out to the fields, it's just going to change. It's going to make us more efficient in what we have. So, and it's interesting because, how far down is it going to trickle down to some of the small farms in my area where the people don't have that kind of money? When does it start to trickle down, or does it happen that you have, groups that come in that have self-driving tractors? Hey, listen, this is your 3 days. We're going to bring it in and take care of it for you. And here's what you're going to pay us. So, and the data, I mean, before you didn't, people understood soil. Obviously, you got to rotate your crops, but to really understand the soil on a real-time basis, that's a very interesting phenomenon. And then what kind of changes you can take place, because across their society, Kyle, we're getting to the points where everything's real time, where you're going to be able to make those course corrections on the spot, right? It's not like wait till the end of the season. It's like, let's make those changes now. And now imagine having a self-driving tractor that can go out, or a sprayer that can go out and do it for you. You don't even have to get engaged. I mean, that's going to happen, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the data side too, we're going to come back on here in just a moment because I've got a question from both you and Wendy on that. But Tom, to you, current state, what are you seeing happening on the ground? I mean, you mentioned a little bit about what your company is doing, but on the broader picture, how are you seeing things change currently around ag tech or agriculture in general?
Are you speaking to me, Kyle?
Yes, Tom. Yep.
Yeah. So with the lockdowns, with the crisis that we're experiencing with COVID, you see all these farmer markets locked down, right? And so people aren't able really to get fresh product right now, right? So in restaurants, and they're not able to buy in mass quantities because they have certain capacities, and some states are locked down altogether and they're having to close, go bankrupt. So what I am seeing is, we're kind of, dare I say, we're in the best of times, but there's all sorts of opportunities around. And because everything's going on, there is opportunities, technology that's advancing. And I agree with Gary in regards to, the automative tractors and things like that. So it makes things easier for farmers. This past year, a lot of farmers in regards to the lockdown measures had to destroy a lot of produce, and it's actually not necessary at all. So there's a way to bridge the gap between the farmer and the consumer, because again, just to reiterate, farmers are only right now, essentially in regards to shelf value, making 10% of the overall shelf value of the product. And what I'm doing allows them to bridge that essential gap, eliminate all the intermediaries, and put more money in their pockets. And even if farmers markets are being locked down, grocery stores are being limited to capacity, and restaurants are being limited to capacity, if not shut down altogether, it enables the farmers to have more money and still has the aspect of consumers being able to purchase things, essentially like as I said earlier, an Uber application, right? And then it also puts more jobs out there on the market in these times of crisis. So drivers can get paid, you can have freight, things like that. And you can have things delivered in large quantities, small quantities, and you can also have them delivered in large distance aspects, as well as in your local area. So it allows the consumer to essentially support their local area. And I know that's a big thing in this time, and it's something that's heavily needed.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. And speaking of that, I want to come to you, Wendy, next around blockchain. So we talk a lot about offline and even online here on VCTV of how blockchain is so impactful, even bigger the picture around digital currencies and impact investing and how that all plays a role in this. I would love to hear your thoughts. Where do you see blockchain's future or digital currency's future having an impact on agriculture and ag tech in general?
Right. So, some of the projects that I'm most interested in is how do we really help the most impoverished, right? And as we know around the world, the most impoverished are farmers, right? So one of the projects that I'm involved with heavily is in India. And what we are doing is a pilot program with a project with 6 billion farmers in India. They are all, were using pesticides and fertilizers that had a high suicide rate. And what is happening there is they are now turning all those farmers into regenerative farmers. They're going back to their old ancient Indian practices of manure, sugarcane, and urine to fertilize the land, which is making that food organic, right? And that is made as enabling those people to sell their food for a lot more money. So with blockchain, in the companies that that I'm one of the ones that I'm invested in, which again is Producers Market, is bringing the storytelling from the ground up in the seed stage, right? That are enabling the transparency through the whole supply chain. Now that project, you saw the suicide rate go down, right? Because they're regenerative farming, or their mental capacity is much more stronger and healthier and happier as a community. The government has come in as part of this project to enable all of those impoverished farmers to go into groups, and they're mostly women. They're about 84% women, and go into groups of 11. And of those groups, they're given a free mobile phone to share. And that's how we're able to track that data to be put on the blockchain, to be doing that. And so what is happening now is we partnered with IBM officially. We are one aspect of their food trust, which is partners with, Carrefour and Walmart and et cetera. So you're going to be seeing all these farmers, when you go into Walmart, let's say you buy the mangoes, the dried mangoes, you're going to be able to see the farmer in India on Instagram, be able to follow her, understand every little aspect of that supply chain. And we just announced with the United Nations Environmental Program, we were going to be doing the same program in the Caribbean. And in the Caribbean, it's been a mess, right? That land, it's like, what can you farm on this land? Right? But working with all these amazing disruptive technology companies and figuring out what is the best products and what can we empower these farmers, right? To be able to have a profitable harvest. And this is another aspect of this is what we're creating is enabling this what we're doing in India in the Caribbean, and being able to use that land so that these farmers can actually make a living, right? And one of the things I think what we're going to see in the future, especially, within Brazil and the rainforest and what you're seeing, with all the soy and stuff and the cows and et cetera, we're going to see this around the world happening and creating the biggest movement for regenerative farming in the world. And by enabling all these people to have traceability, transparency, and storytelling to their products is going to enable these farmers to earn more money because they're going to have a bigger percentage of the profit from that. And for instance, Producers Market dedicated 20% of the entire company for all the farmers. So they actually have an interest in our company. And so what I think the goal is to create this whole ecosystem and for everybody to collaborate together. And that's what we've done, is because we know that companies and governments, so working with the government of India and all the governments in the Caribbean, especially the Bahamas, and being able to bring all these parties together to work together to enable this ecosystem. And that is what blockchain is about, right? Blockchain is open source. And this is what we're doing, with partnering with the Walmarts and the IBMs and these governments, et cetera. So, one of the things that, I'm very much interested in is any of the companies that are in, that I'm on the seed stage, that I'd be definitely interested in looking at and being part of this whole ecosystem.
I love it. And Gary, anything to add on that? But also, for you, artificial intelligence is the question too, is how does AI play such an impactful role? Anything to add to Wendy, but then again, how does AI play a big role in the future of ag tech?
But it's all about data, Kyle. It's all about the massive amounts of data. And we have not had the opportunity in the past to be able to collect data like we have the opportunity today. And 5G has just, dramatically enhanced their capability. So now it's not about, so you're wondering about whether the cows are drinking water that's right on within the field or, from the taps. You can instantly tell. Imagine having that real-time information, or to be able to test. Whatever, everything from manure, and is it, is the right kind of consistency? Is there something we need to worry about? It's just, we're now going to be inundated with data. And the key is, how can we take that data, make sense of it, and imagine being able to act on that data. So it's not just about getting it, it's about what kind of actions are going to take place. So I can imagine a capability that a farmer is going to have a particular situation where water comes into some type of a trough. It's understood that water needs to be corrected. Maybe vitamins or minerals need to be put in the water, or that detects giardiasis and can actually turn on one of the ultraviolet lights to be able to take care of it. I had a situation. I actually had a house that had been built on a farmer's field, and giardiasis came into the well, and it needed to be corrected with a UV light. So really got into the situation. So I think that, but in the past we haven't had that, right? We haven't had the real data to be able to make decisions. and more importantly, corrections. So the beauty is about when the AI can start in an unsupervised way, start to take care of things for us, right? I can imagine a time where, a lot of the complete operations of a farm are fully automated. And, the time the farmer's wasted is now not having to be on the field, but now the tractor's on the field taking care of a lot of it for him or her, right? And they can focus on more high value tasks. The one thing we're going to see, as I said earlier, is that the farmers are going to be more and more, technologically astute, because they're going to have to deal with some fairly complicated systems. So it's not going to be, when I grew up, you were on a farm. That was your lifelong endeavor. Your dad's probably a farm. You were going to be given the farm. You didn't go to Penn State or one of the top tier, Iowa, one of the top tier universities to get a PhD in agriculture. What you did is you ended up learning by doing. It's changing. And now the situations, the farmers, they're going to have to be technologists in and of themselves to figure out how to be able to tie those sensors up, how to be able to manipulate the data, and more importantly, what do they need to do once they have the data in their hand?
Right. No, that's a great point as well, and bringing that to where are the areas of opportunity. So, Tom, looking forward to the next year. We're coming to close here, only a few weeks left in 2020, but we've talked a lot about this year here on VCTV as a very foundational year to the next decade, as technology is accelerating across industries so rapidly. What do you see changing, or where do you see the areas of opportunity for those building and or investing in agriculture going into the next year, in 2021?
All right. So, as mentioned before, regards to the company, that we're working on, that's, I see that. I agree with Gary and everything he says in regards to AI and blockchain, because everything can be recorded and it's right there on the blockchain and it's all transparent. The logistics, work well in regards to that. And they can see, and then also in regards to what Wendy said, they can see where things are coming. So to do a combination of what Gary and Wendy said, right? Everything's transparent. They can see if it's vegan, they can see if it's not vegan, they can see if it's organic, not organic, if certain fertilizers are being used. So I appreciate Wendy's aspect in regards to, working with the government of India. My grandfather did as well. He was with the State Department, the highest level you could get without being officially appointed by the president. I had royal families at his 91st birthday. God bless his soul, but he's passed away recently. So I agree in regards to both what they're saying. AI is going to change everything. Blockchain is going to change everything. And it's all transparent. And that's the beautiful thing about blockchain, right? So, I think that you combine both of those. And you also, in regards to this crisis, you have the aspect of dealing with bringing farmers directly to consumers, and you can essentially not eliminate the grocery store, but you can have more of a direct connection. So people know what they're getting. Everything's transparent in regards to blockchain. AI helps that as well, and so that's essentially what I see. So restaurants, when they start opening back up to maximum capacity, or even grocery stores, they can order stuff from 1,000 miles away, and everything's transparent. People know what they're getting. And that's essentially what I see.
Got it. And appreciate it. Wendy, to you, same question. Going into 2021 and beyond, what do you see as areas of opportunity for those looking to invest and start building in this space that we're talking about today?
Look at Oatly, look at Beyond, Beyond Meat. I think that market alone, if you focus on that, I think you're going to see a lot of companies coming out now with all these things. When people think about Beyond Meat, right? Like I've been a vegetarian since 7 years old. I would love to be a vegan, but I haven't found yet that dairy replacement yet that I love, even though Oatly's very close, right? And if you think, you see now all these big VC companies coming into this space, which is really, really important. But let's look at let's look and think about more so about how this is going to help the world, right? Like with Beyond Meat, when you think about it, it's responsible. Animal agriculture is responsible for almost 15% of global greenhouse emissions. I mean, think about that for a second. It's disgusting, right? Like, and what we have to do is focus on the fact that when people become more vegetarian, become vegan, we're going to see the environment take on a whole other place. Because I think when you look at the importance of food, we are what we eat, right? Our bodies are not meant to digest processed food. So I think the future is you're going to see a lot more companies investing in vegan foods, etc. Like I just mentioned earlier with Unilever buying the vegetarian butcher. And when you see what happened with Oatly and being one of the biggest IPOs this year, I mean, you see the fact that people are really interested in this space. There are more vegetarians now than ever. Right. So I would say that is probably the main focus, but I also really do believe that, looking at the disruptive technology companies that are looking at, the soil and looking at the drones, et cetera, because I know personally, what I mentioned in the Caribbean, this has been a major factor in working with these companies to enable these farmers to find a harvest that's going to be profitable.
Absolutely. Thank you, Wendy. And Gary, to you, same question. Areas of opportunity going into 2021 and beyond, where do you see the areas to focus on if you're building and or investing in the space?
Well, I mean, like I said, the areas of regenerative agriculture into vertical farming because of productivity issues. The artificial intelligence, sensors, IoT, drones, those are all areas. Self-driving tractors, which I've just, as I said, just seen recently. I just think this is an incredible time, but it all goes back. It's across all the vertical markets, Kyle. Look at what we have today. They're all starting to have the same kind of efficiencies. They've got massive amounts of data. They're now able to collect the data like no other time before because of 5G, because of the IoT. And they need to not only look at that data, but have decisions, not smart, but intelligent decisions that the AI can make to be able to help them. So imagine, and then think about, of all the capabilities in genetics using artificial intelligence. It's an entirely different kind of world. So I see that happening. And I think in terms of printed meat, the 3D printed meat, like Redefined Meat, is going to change things because now we're going to have a lot of vegetable base and we need to do it sooner than later. Because as I said, we've got a growing population around the world. It grew 4x in the last 100 years, projected to grow to 13 billion. It's at 8 billion now, 13 billion by 2100. There isn't going to be a lot of land. We've done a lot of not good things to our planet. So the land has changed. The water situation's an issue. We need to make it much, much more productive than we have to this point in time.
And it's
AI in terms of, the data, collecting the data on the farm, analyzing the data on the farm, self-driving tractors, more efficient solutions, all the thing around, how to raise animals better, safer, kinder, and at the same time, 3D printing to be able to start to change the way we look at things and become more, is it vegan or vegetarian, Wendy?
I'm a vegetarian, dying to be a full-time vegan, but I haven't gotten there yet.
So vegetarian, So I think it's a healthy thing too.
Yes.
Wendy,
I
anything?
I agree.
Or Tom?
One thing, and one of the things that I think, just knowing, what this segment's about and everything. One of the things I think that everyone can educate themselves is watch a movie on Amazon, which is Africa and Bitcoin, and about this woman. And it kind of profiles this one incredible woman that I, was part of my foundation, and she created the Satoshi Center, and she was a goat farmer in Botswana. And literally created the Satoshi Center when her child was really sick. She didn't have the money to do that. And that's how she's ended up getting into Bitcoin, that led her into launching the Satoshi Center. And then her whole initiative is to empower farmers in the Botswana with blockchain and doing the traceability and enabling them to find access to more more money for their outputs and everything. So I think, you know, like thinking about the future, I think you see it right there with this, you know, this incredible woman who created this center, you know, and you think about, this is a goat farmer in Botswana, right? Who now is economically empowered as part of the financial ecosystem and is able to now afford to support her family through blockchain and Bitcoin, et cetera, as a goat farmer.
It's a great example, Wendy, of showing again how much opportunity there is in front of us here, not just in 2021, but also in the next decade ahead as more technology enters our lives and impacts us in so many different ways. It's going to be very exciting to see how things not only transform, but the impact that this technology or technologies will have on us in our daily lives as well. I want to come to each of you for closing thoughts and then where you can be found online to continue the conversation, as I'm sure some of our audience would love to learn more about each of your respected areas and also talk about this industry. So Tom, any closing thoughts that you may have, and where can people find you online, whether it be LinkedIn, a website, et cetera, to be able to continue the conversation?
All right. Well, my email is Tom Garber at True Capital FP. So T as in Tango, O as in Orca, M as in Mario, G as in Golf, A as in Alpha, R as in Romeo, B as in Bravo, E as in Echo, R as in Romeo, at True Capital. And I'm sure people know how to spell that, but I can go through that. So T as in Tango, R as in Romeo, U as in Utah, E as in Echo, capital C as in well,
Charlie.
C,
I think
Charlie.
I think the audience will be good on capital, since we talk about it all day, every day here on VCTV. But thank you, Tom, for nonetheless. I mean, what closing thoughts do you have on today's topic? Where the future goes, what people should know, what advice you have for founders or investors getting into the space? What are your closing thoughts for today's discussion?
Well, I agree with Wendy in regards to printed meat. So you can have vegans get in, right? And you can have printed meat. And I know with Organova, which is a company I worked with several years ago, you know, they've had a long process because originally it didn't taste like meat because they had to deal with the I guess the blood aspect, dare I say that. But they made a lot of advancements in regards to that. And so things are progressing there. And also I'll mention in regards to global warming and the carbon footprint, one of the biggest carbon footprints that, you know, Wendy just recently discussed was in agriculture, and it deals with flatulence. And I don't mean to sound crude in that regards, but, you know, we can get away from, you know, to help vegans, we can get away to from, you know, slaughtering animals, things like that. So we're getting there, you know, one step at a time. So things are advancing, you know, really quickly, and, you know, we won't have to do that anymore. And then we can eliminate, you know, a good part of the global footprint in regards to the carbon footprint, right, for global warming. And so, you know, that's essentially where I see that. But we definitely need to, you know, link consumers to farmers directly. I believe in printed meat. I believe in eliminating the carbon footprint. So both Gary and Wendy are right, and I highly agree with both of them.
Wonderful, thank you. And Gary, to you, closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so this is a great time. There's more data going to be coming out. We need to be able to analyze that data. So startups, if you got some cool stuff in artificial intelligence, unsupervised clusterization, VAE, you know, knowledge graphs, this is a great time to look at farming. It's something that's needed. It's something that needs to be done now. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, LinkedIn. You can reach me on Twitter, Gary Fowler. I have my show. And by the way, this week on the 10th, I'm helping missing and exploited kids. And I have a event with the District Attorney of New York, the Center for the National CEO for the Task Force for Missing and Exploited Kids, and Homeland Security. So if you get a chance, we've taken the whole idea of facial recognition and moved in an entirely new domain to bring the kids home for the holidays. So if you get a chance, join me on the 10th. So
wonderful thing.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And we should all
Thank
connect
you.
as well. So you can find me as Tom Garber on LinkedIn as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we'll make sure everyone here on the panel gets connected as well. So thank you, Tom. And Wendy, last but not least, closing thoughts. Where can everyone find you? And then also, would love to hear your thoughts as we come to the close of the year of just why you joined VCTV and join us here on these panels today.
Well, first of all, I love VCTV because, oh my gosh, I love talking about the importance of, blockchain and how we're going to make an impact in the world and impact investing. Anybody who's a farmer, contact me. I'd love to have you a part of Producers Market. We have 300 of some of the most incredible regenerative farming companies in the world on board already, and we're working with all the governments and all the United Nations, et cetera. And so we're always interested in helping any farmer out there. Number one, any startups in the vegetarian vegan space, contact me because I'm the perfect person to talk about whether it's good or not. And I would really love the next Beyond Burger that is actually healthy for you and not just the environment. And then anything, in disruptive technologies in that space, we're always, I'm always open to collaborating, et cetera. And as, Producers Market has, just closed a huge round, we are definitely looking at how do we collaborate or, and looking at opportunities to buy other companies as well. And so you can reach me and look at everything I'm doing, whether it's empowering women in business, supporting homeless animals, or impact investing. You can find me at wendydiamond.com.
Wonderful. Wendy, Gary, Tom, thank you all very much for joining us today here on VCTV. To you, our audience, thank you so much for tuning in as well. If you like what you hear, click subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Do reach out if you'd like to join Wendy, Gary, Tom, or other of our investors. Thank you, Gary, on a VCTV episode as well. We'd love to have you share your thoughts and insights about different technologies, industries, and regions around the world. And entrepreneurs, just a few weeks left here in 2020. What better way to end the year and kick off another than coming to the virtual stage at VCTV and pitching us your company, product, or service, getting real-time feedback, building foundational relationships, and getting exposure to our entire community. We'd love to have you. Please reach out to the team and or myself, and we'd love to find the right spot for you. And a big thank you to that team at LA Token and to Maria for making VCTV possible every single day. I'm your host, Kyle Ellicott. You can find me everywhere online at Kyle Ellicott, along with each and every one of our guests on LinkedIn and any other social network you may see on the web today, as we all live our lives digital more than ever before.